Hey guys, it is Melissa and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Melissa Ellen and I do true crime videos. So I'm trying to help raise awareness, missing persons, unsolved cases. And if you're interested in that kind of thing, then make sure you hit subscribe down below. We are going to talk about Evelyn Boswell. It's crazy. 15-month-old little girl. She is last seen in December, but she's not reported missing until February by the grandfather. The mother ends up in jail because false reporting to a police department because she won't say where her child is. And then the grandmother ends up in jail because she's in the car that was reported stolen that was part of the Amber Alert for the little girl. Then they find the remains of the little girl and she's on the property of the grandfather who reported her missing. There are several players involved in this case, and I want to make it very clear from the beginning. First of all, this case is ongoing. It's brand new. It's going to be changing. Things are going to be updated. So this is what is current as of March 12th, okay? And number two, everyone is innocent until proven guilty. I want to make it very clear, no one has been charged in connection with the disappearance or death of Evelyn Boswell, okay? Nobody has been charged in her disappearance. And the third thing is that it seems very clear if you're following anything on social media that teams are being made. You know, you've got Team Megan, Team so-and-so. I mean, like, this is kind of what's happening. It's not exactly like t-shirts, Team Megan. But there are people who feel very bad for Megan. She's 18. She grew up in a very bad environment. She's got all of these people around her who might be kind of in her head and encouraging what she's doing. So, okay, I mean, not really. I'm not on board. I would be willing to think that Megan might have a lot more people involved in what happened with Evelyn than we realized at first. But at the end of the day, this girl is old enough to have a child, old enough to care for a child for a year, and she is old enough to call and ask the police department for help when her child is missing. And she is old enough to, when she is in the police department, in jail, with an attorney, to start talking. And so I don't know how much of this is because of other people, but at the end of the day, if you're looking for any sort of a video that in any way condones Megan's behavior or understands it in any way, you're not getting it at all. It's not happening in this video. But what I do want to try to figure out is that she did not do this alone. I don't know who actually harmed that child. We don't know yet. A lot of these court records are starting to get sealed. So somebody helped her though. Like, I really don't think that she did this all by herself and then coordinated all of these events that we're going to be talking about. It just doesn't seem like it's possible. So before I ramble on too much, let's just jump right into the video and we're going to go and play by play and try to figure out all the people involved. And then let's talk down below, like, who do you think was helping her? Or do you think they all were? Like, all of them. Like, this was all like this big group thing. Let's talk about it down below. These are the main key players that we're going to be talking about in the disappearance and death of Evelyn Boswell. You have her mother, Megan Boswell. You have her grandfather, Tommy Sr. You have her mother, which is Angela Boswell. And you have her boyfriend or ex-boyfriend, Hunter Woods. So these are the main people that everyone is talking about. And I want to be very clear who they are. Tommy Sr. is Megan's father. That's her father. And he was married to Angela. Okay? There is another father who is spoke about. That is David Jones. That's Angela's father, but I'm not going to put him up on the same screen. We'll talk about him in a little bit. But these are the four people that are that are at the center of this case. Okay, so first of all, Evelyn Boswell was born into this world, and her parents were Megan Boswell, and then her father was Ethan Perry. So Ethan Perry has a very small amount in the story, so let's just cover him really quick. They obviously were kind of on and off when she was younger. She gave birth to Evelyn when she was 16. At the time that she got pregnant, Ethan Perry was already enlisted in the U.S. Army. Maybe he had come back for boot camp or something. I don't really know. I was trying to figure that out. I don't know the timeline. Whatever. Ethan is Evelyn's father. Do we know if he's on the birth certificate? No. Do we know if he pays child support? No. Do we know if he's like done any legal documents to claim her? Absolutely not. We do not know. What we do know is that he had seen Evelyn on a few occasions, and he didn't have a lot of involvement in her life as of yet at the age of 15 months old. He has issued a couple of statements which says that he is in active duty in Louisiana. He is cooperating with police. Police have said the same thing. He is giving what information that he can. He has donated money towards the search for her. And honestly, he's just asking for privacy in his time of grief. Recent statement from the family urged you that if you see any GoFundMes, fundraiser, donations on behalf of their family, that you go back and double check your source, because as of the time of their statement, they were not doing any sort of fundraising or monetary value collection. Okay, so they wanted to say that, and that's kind of the involvement that Ethan had in this story. So let's get to the main people involved. Megan Boswell. Megan goes by Megan or Maggie. And also on social media, recently she started going by Maggie Woods. She is 18 years old, and she is currently incarcerated on charges of false reporting to the police department. Let me give you a little bit of a history on how Megan was raised. Now, her father, Tommy Sr., and her mother, Angela Boswell. Angela also goes by Angel. So they're married. Prior to that, they had an older son, Tommy Jr. Then they have Megan. And then things were even worse in their relationship. I didn't do the full research on their history of Tommy and Angela, but I did see yesterday morning Stephanie Harlow uploaded a video where she had done the research, so I will insert that for you down below. But according to her, they were on and off after Megan was born, and it was just a really toxic relationship. There were charges against Angela for attacking Tommy. There were allegations against both of them, that they were both extremely violent with each other, like violent, including weapons. There was even a charge against Tommy of attempted murder against a guy that Angela was dating, but that was completely dropped. I don't know how. I didn't really do the research on that case, so I'll include that for you down below. But yeah, not a good situation all the way around. At the time that Megan turned 18, she was living with her father. Her father had previously gone to court and gained sole custody of Megan and the two sibling children. According to that request, he even got a restraining order against Angela, citing that there was a lot. According to him, she had gotten more involved in drugs and was not running in a safe environment. So those two are divorced, and they don't get along, they don't talk, things are not good between them. And so they're not really communicating in this year of 2019. Now, at some point in time, Angela and Megan aren't getting along as a result of this. But then at some point in time, they obviously started communicating again. And according to Angela's boyfriend, who we're going to talk about in a minute, he said that they saw Megan and Evelyn in the summer. And then Angela recently said that the last time she had actually seen Evelyn with her own eyes was in September. Coming to you in editing, according to the article that Angela was interviewed in, she said the last time that she actually physically saw Evelyn was with Megan in September. Now, there is an article where her boyfriend is quoted as saying that they saw the baby in the summer for 2 nights when they stayed in a hotel, and then the last time that they saw the baby was in November. That is a huge deal, but it is important to note that the quote from the boyfriend, I believe, comes from a bail bondsman. So it is a third-party quote. So it is possible they're confusing September, November. I am so curious to find out what is the actual truth, which we'll find out when it gets to trial. This is where it gets wonky, right? Because they're not getting along, but then she says that she saw her, but then she says that they reconnect because she hears that Evelyn is in the custody of the state. Now, this is where this comes in. I have seen that multiple members of the family thought this was true. I don't know. I'm very curious to see when this story came about. But according to Angela, She thought that Evelyn had been taken away from Megan and by DCSF, DFS, CPS, Child Welfare Services, whatever you call it in your area, but we're just going to refer to it as the state. So she thought that the state had custody of Evelyn, and she said she didn't want to ask Megan about it though. So she contacted Megan because she was worried about how she was dealing with losing her child, but then she didn't talk to her about it. She also did not make any contact with the state. I'm a grandma. I would have been like at the state, whatever the state's number is or door, I would have been knocking on it. Like I would have found my grandchild. She said, and this makes sense to me, that she did not make any attempts to personally go to the state or call the police department or anything like that because she herself did not have custody of her own children. Remember, they were given over to Tommy Sr. She had had her children removed before, so she had already gone through the system of foster in the state and everything. And as far as she knew, she had open charges, open warrants, or things against her. So she literally did not think that she could help in any way. But I don't understand. Okay, cool. Like, you're not going to call, but I'd be like, hey, friend, call. Like, I would have been calling other people. But according to Angela, she heard this from other people, so they really thought this was true. And I think that Tommy Sr. might have even thought that this was true because he started making comments to Megan like, hey, you need to go get that child. Like, what's going on? This is what led to a conversation that happens between Tommy Sr. and Angela on the night of February 17th. But before we get into that call, let's go ahead and talk about Hunter Wood, okay? So, Hunter Wood was interviewed on TV and he makes a stupid comment. He has a lawyer now, which was probably the best thing ever. Because if he wasn't involved, he made it look like he's involved. Here's the deal. I said to you earlier that when CPS went out to talk to Megan about where's Evelyn, she was at Hunter Wood's house. When she was arraigned in court, they referenced that that was the house she was living in, but she would not be living there any longer. But he says that he met her in December when she applied for a job at the Chicken Shack and that they kind of dated for a couple of weeks. She worked at the Chicken Shack when she was even arrested. So she worked there. So December, January, February, they're hanging out. They're together. There's people posted photos of them together in February. But like most importantly, like you can skip all that because like, she was at his house when the police came to investigate about her daughter. Like she was living there. What I think might have happened is as soon as Hunter realized about this child being missing, that's when he panicked. Because according to him, he had never met Evelyn. Never met her, never. He's really kind of an ass because he refers to her as that child. I'd never seen it. I mean her. Like, he's not very smart. He doesn't seem very connected to the child. He doesn't seem to have any care of any sort about her. He is more worried about his business. So remember we said that Megan went in and applied for a job. He owns Hunter T's Chicken Shack. He owns this business since February of 2018. So he owns a Chicken Shack. She comes in and applies for a job. Obviously he uses as a chance. They're hooking up. She's obviously staying with him because we're going to get into that car. Remember the car that the grandma was in? It's Hunter's car. So for him to say, like, yeah, I barely knew her. I never met you. Like, he tried to disconnect himself too much. Too much that it makes him absolutely, like, suspicious. Like, I literally don't believe him. But it's either because he's involved or because he was trying too hard to disconnect himself from the case and he overly tried to make it seem like they didn't even know each other when they obviously do. Not to mention, remember we said that recently Megan started using a different last name? Yeah, Maggie Woods, Hunter Woods. Like, really a coincidence if you're like even kind of hooking up with a girl and she changes her name on Facebook to your last name, you would be like, hi. So whatever, it is to do with them. Do I think that Hunter's involved? I'm very curious. There's a lot of people that are growing really strong speculation against him, and I would love to know more about why. Why do you think that Hunter's involved? I absolutely think he was lying. I think that he is trying to disconnect himself from the case. I think he is trying to disconnect himself from Megan. Is it to protect his reputation in business? Is it just that he's a pathological liar? Or what more do I need to know? Tell me down below. I'm very curious. Megan is going to be like the biggest one to talk about. Like, this little girl has told so many stories and so many different things to news reporters, court, everything is all over the place. But let's go ahead and talk about Tommy Sr. first, okay? Because I want to keep all of these players very separate. Tommy Sr. has done one interview with the news. He has sent in a statement other than that. So he's interviewed by the news, and he was very clear. He is the one that called the Child Welfare Services, the state, to investigate where Evelyn was. He doesn't say why he called the state and not the police department. I think it's because he had also heard the same stories that the child was in the state's custody, and so that's why he called the state first, or he just called it in as like an anonymous Child Protective Services report. So he calls the state, and he says in this interview that, yeah, I called him. I wanted to know what's going on. He 100% thinks that something happened to the child, and that is all he wanted to know, is where she was. He put up $20,000 towards the reward, and then his son, Tommy Jr., also put up $20,000 towards the reward. So at the beginning of the story, you have this grandpa who says that he was seeing the child, had seen the child regularly because she was living on his property, but that he had not actually seen the child since Thanksgiving dinner. Okay? They moved, and then that's when he's like, hey, like, where's the child? He saw Megan, but he's not seeing Evelyn. And that's why it took a while for him to report, because I think he was trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, or seeing if maybe she was just playing with him or what was going on. But for some reason, he's not seeing her, and he did report her missing. Now, since then, all of this craziness that we're going to talk about when we go through each person happens. And for some reason, Tommy, since his initial worry and posting on Facebook about her and just being very involved, reportedly doesn't want to be involved anymore. Evelyn's body was found on his property. Now, this is a big property. It's referred to as a compound, and it has multiple houses on it. I am so unsure which it is because people are reporting it all over the place. But I believe that where she was found, okay, so it's in a shed, and it's a shed that is next to a house, and I believe that that is his mother's house. But I don't know for sure, because nothing in the news articles or the public release by the police department is saying. They're only saying it was a family member's home. So I had to go into Reddit, I had to go into Facebook groups, and I had to kind of gather, but I believe that this property was registered to Tommy Sr., and that the house was actually the house that his mother lived in, and the shed was next to that. So we have questions, right? And this is going to come out eventually. Whose shed? How often was the shed used? When was the last time anyone had been in the shed? Whose house? All of these questions. And also, like, more questions about Evelyn herself. Like, where was she found in this shed? Because it's a very big shed. Was she found in the front, in the back? Was she covered? Was she able to be seen? And then the police have disclosed that she was found with items. So when I started writing this up for you guys, originally she hadn't been verified, but I saw this morning it has been verified that it was Evelyn. So the baby was found. She was wearing exactly what her mother described her to be in the last time she was seen, which is this pink tracksuit and these pink shoes. And so Evelyn is found in that outfit, and then she was found with items that are described to have belonged to a baby. So toys, diapers, clothes. But we don't have any information like all of her toys, clothes, and diapers. Was it like just a diaper bag that had some of those items? Was it just a tote? Like, we don't really know that information yet. So immediately people are like, whoa, like, if that baby was there, then how did he not know? Not to be insensitive, but like smells, things like that. But like, we don't have a lot of information. Like, if what people are saying, this shed is like way away from his house, and the mother doesn't come out often, and the remains have been, put away Sometimes I hate these freaking videos. Like, I hate these parts. Like, I don't know what to say. But, so, like, if she wasn't contained, then, yeah. But we don't know any of that. So, does that make us totally want to put an eye on Tommy? Yeah, absolutely. Now people are noticing that in the original interview, the way that he was so quick to assert that he's the one that called police. And then he also points the finger at Angela. During that initial interview, he says that on the night of February 17th, he and Angela finally talked to each other. And in that phone call, he's telling Angela, like, hey, I'm done. I'm calling. Like, somebody needs to get this baby. Like, something's not right. I'm calling. According to Angela, yes, that phone call happened. But the next part, according to Angela, did not happen. Tommy says that Angela then threatened him, that she said he would regret calling. That's very suspicious, okay? We don't know who's telling the truth. One of them is flat out lying. Was it taken out of context? I have no idea. But I do know that Tommy Sr. wanted to make a phone call about this missing child, and that it appeared Angela wasn't making the phone call. So now we're at February 18th. We have a child that's been missing. And when police go to investigate, they're told that by Megan that the child was last seen on December 26th. Okay, so that's why the original report was December 26th that the child was last seen. She originally tells police that Evelyn was actually with her father, Ethan, and that he was on military leave, and so the child was spending time, and that she was picking the child up the next day at 4 p.m. This was absolutely not true. Police go to verify this information. It's not true. I also heard, and I'm sorry, I had a little bit of trouble verifying this. I also heard that she told him the child was with a babysitter, that they couldn't verify the babysitter. It's not even true, okay? It doesn't matter. That's what she initially told police. And then police said, look, we couldn't verify anything she said. People asked, like, about, like, Christmas. And she's like, oh, yeah, I got her a lot of stuff. But, like, it's Christmas. Where's the pictures? There's no photos of this child on Christmas. Police eventually said that the last time the child was actually seen was on December 11th by a babysitter, okay? So that's the last time the child was actually seen by anyone that is believable. Since we're on that exact one, it's very important to know. In an interview that Megan did with the news, they asked her, when was the last time you seen your child? Remember, she had said December 26th. Remember, police are now saying December 11th. And she says, before Christmas. Every parent lost their shit when they heard this, because of course we're like, how do you not know the last time you saw your child? Like, you can ask anybody who has a missing child and they know exactly the last time they saw their child. So then Evelyn is reported officially missing on February 18th, and on February 19th they actually issued an Amber Alert. Now, the next day on February 20th is when a vehicle is reported missing, and this vehicle does become important. This is a 2007 BMW that had front end damage. This vehicle is registered, owned by Melissa Wood, who is the mother of Hunter Woods. So Hunter Wood has this 2007 BMW. So then on the next morning of February 21st, police actually release a bolo public information about this vehicle. And then that night is when they actually locate the vehicle. And then on the 21st is when they did a search of the trailer that Megan used to live in. Tommy Sr. has this property, sometimes referred to as a compound, with multiple houses on it. One of the houses that was on there was a trailer. It's a question of who was registered. I think that the trailer was actually registered to Tommy Jr., so like there it belongs to them. But Megan lived in it for a little while, and there was some questions about this. Megan lived there, and then some people are reporting that Tommy Sr. evicted her out of the trailer near the end of 2019. Tommy says in a public Facebook that no, he did not kick her out, that she had decided she wanted to live on her own. The post is actually written by Tommy Sr.'s girlfriend, and it does make reference to Megan was just a messy person, but that was nothing unusual. The reference about her being a messy person was because there's a lot of photos circulating stating that Megan trashed or destroyed the trailer before she moved out. I don't know what's true, but what I do know is that she was no longer living in that trailer when Evelyn disappeared. But what I can't seem to figure out was when she actually moved out of the trailer. So let me know what you guys know down below. What I do know is that on February 21st, police executed a search warrant on that trailer. We know that Megan wasn't living there any longer, but she had lived there prior. And they were specifically looking for a pillow or a styrofoam piece. And it looks from the photos that evidence was being removed, and it looks like a pillow was found underneath that trailer. Police have not released any information on that. They have not released anything on the tip, what led them to specifically under the trailer in a hole, but that is where they did go. I have heard total gossip, rumors, 5 different ways that maybe Angela had actually given this tip to someone in jail or to the police or to a cousin or on Facebook, that maybe Megan had harmed Evelyn with this pillow. Total speculation, literally not released anything by the police. So no idea what this pillow means, who sent them to it, and who knows what it's about. Also on the 21st in the morning, police did release that information about that vehicle to the public to be on the lookout for it. Now they stated in that they do not believe that the child is actually in that vehicle, but that they wanted to talk to the people who had that vehicle. Now the people who had that vehicle was actually Angela Boswell, Megan's mother. They were found in that vehicle actually in North Carolina, and they were in that vehicle, and it's a twisted story. So when they're pulled over, William McLeod is driving. Now, William is the boyfriend of Angela Boswell. William is driving the vehicle, and he says that the vehicle that he's in, this is that 2007 BMW that belongs to Hunter Woods. He says that that vehicle was a gift from his girlfriend Angela's daughter, Megan. Police are looking into it, and they end up being arrested for the theft of that vehicle. Now, Angela has since been to court, and I saw her arraignment. Like, he's like, so how long can you get an attorney? And she's like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm working on it. Instead of being like, my granddaughter's missing, my daughter's in jail, like, I am dealing with, mass hysteria from the national news. And she's just like, So she has to go back to court in 2 weeks. So we'll find out a little bit more. She did an interview with the newspaper, and she said that Hunter Woods came to her home with her father, David Jones Sr., okay? That's the other senior that is being spoken about. Her father, David Jones Sr., okay? So she's at her house with her father, and according to her and her father, Hunter Woods came to her house and told her that he was worried she didn't have a vehicle to take care of her minor children, the 3 and 7-year-old, the ones that, the senior has custody of. She said that he came by and gave her this 2007 BMW, and they were going to do the paperwork later, that he gave her this vehicle. Also, according to her father, when he's being interviewed about this car, he says that Angela, his daughter, has been living with him for a while now. And he says that in the beginning of February, that Megan and Hunter were consistently coming over to his house to visit Angela, constantly, on a daily basis, sometimes twice a day, that Hunter and Megan were together daily at his house visiting with Angela. And that's when this car was given to Angela. And he said during that entire time, he never saw Evelyn, but they thought that Evelyn was in custody of the state. According to Hunter, this wasn't even happening. Okay? According to Hunter and his mother, they were selling the car to Megan, and Megan was gifting it to her mom. I also don't understand that. Here's the deal. Megan was living with her father, and he was providing this trailer for her, and she decided she wanted to be on her own. Her father bought her, it's stated in this public Facebook post, a $20,000 car. But we also know that she turned around and refinanced that vehicle. So was she living on that money from refinancing the vehicle, and that's how she had money to live on her own, plus the chicken shack? But what we know is that vehicle got repossessed. She was recently trying to sell it to try and get the money to pay off the title loan so she could keep the vehicle, but she didn't. I'm a little confused how anyone thought she was able to buy a car for her mother. Like, wouldn't she buy it for herself? So that's the story with the car. It is 100% he said, she said. Hunter and his mother say they were selling it to Megan, but that Megan never paid them. So that's why they reported the car stolen. And Angela says that they gave her the car and that they are framing her for stealing the car because of what's going on. According to Megan, we're going to go back to one of her interviews that she did with the news right around this time. She said that as a result of the Amber Alert, the reason she hadn't told anyone that her mother has Evelyn this whole time, she says her mother had Evelyn this whole time, and that the reason she didn't tell anyone is because she was afraid her mother would take off. And that's exactly what happened once the Amber Alert happened. Now then people are like, wait, what do you mean your mom had Evelyn? Like, you've been hanging out with your mom. Well, not my mom. My mom took Evelyn. She says in December that her and her mom went out to eat, and then her mom took Evelyn. But then later she says she went out to eat and then her mom came to the house and took Evelyn because people are trying to track down their surveillance records to see were her and her mom ever together, which we know they were because people had seen them out and about together, but were her and her mom together with Evelyn? That is a very good question, and we haven't found that yet. Megan says there was nothing suspicious when Angela took Evelyn, that it was totally fine. She was just going to babysit her for work, but that then she didn't return her. She said that she asked her mother about Evelyn and she kept telling her she was safe. She also said that her mother was threatening her with something, that there was something her mother was threatening her with, and that's why she wasn't going to the police to report that her mother would not return her child to her, and she would not say what her mother was threatening her with. She then also said that her mother did tell her that Evelyn was in Mendota at a camping ground in a silver trailer, and that the person or persons, she would not clarify if it was a person or persons, was taking care of Evelyn. And Megan's only concern was that the person was afraid they were going to get in trouble or had decided that they didn't want to give Evelyn back. When asked, like, have you gone? She's like, well, I've told the police, but I haven't specifically told the police, but like, I'm not playing around. She says this was like such a smirk. I don't know if it's just like this immature child thing that she's doing. Why? It looks so bad. Like any grown ass parent would never make this smirk in reference to their child being missing. But she's just like, yeah, I told them where she's at. She's in Mendota at the trailer. And like, if they don't go, like, I'm going to go. Like, I'm serious. Like, I'm going to go. Yeah, I'm going to go. It's weird. It's weird. You just can't deny that it's not weird. So police say, absolutely, she's not telling the truth again, that they had already looked into what she said, but she hadn't actually given all that information, and that they did go out and search. There is an interesting to William McLeod, okay? He was the driver of the vehicle, and he is the boyfriend of Angela. He does have an extensive criminal history, and it does include violence. According to Mary McLeod, which is the grandmother of William, where they were found in the vehicle on this road, there are two things on this road that are important. Number one is a pond. Number two is the home of the grandmother, Mary McLeod. She says that on the night that they showed up at the house, that William came into the house and Angela stayed in the car, the BMW. But she saw them both and no one else was in the vehicle. William was wet. He said that there was a pipe that had burst at a nearby hotel, the Lowe's Motel in Wilkesburg or something, and that's why he was wet. There's a pond down the road. So, of course, police did go search that pond, and the results of that search were inconclusive. Evelyn was not found in that pond. I was curious if there's any evidence in that pond. I don't know if they've returned yet to research it. An Amber Alert is issued, and the grandmother decides to take off and go to North Carolina. She said that this is what she does. This is a normal thing for her, that this is where William's family lives, that she takes drives. She was really stressed out, and she was also very concerned about her own criminal standing and was very worried that if she was around the sheriff's department that she would be arrested. I believe William was concerned about the same things. They have a criminal background. They have what appears and what has been said of a drug history. So they were just trying to get away, is what Angela says. Okay, quick update. Where are we at? Evelyn is missing. The mother is saying that the grandmother took her and gave her to someone else, is not returning her. The mother is done 2 interviews with the local news station by her own account. There was also a question brought up of has she done a polygraph, and she had a Facebook post and an interview, and she volunteers the information that no, she did not do a polygraph because she couldn't because of their policies. She then later states that she's pregnant, and that's the reason that they can't do a polygraph. She made herself look really bad because then this police department is like no hold bars. Every time she would make a statement, they'd be right there to say, no, that's not true. They immediately released that they don't have a policy in regards to polygraph because they don't have a polygraph. They don't have a machine. They don't have a person. That is done by the TBI, which is the Texas Bureau of Investigations, not by the local police department. So they literally were like, no, yeah, we don't even have a policy. Like, why did she say that? We didn't set her up for a polygraph. So that started to make things look awkward. Fast forward to when she's arrested on February 25th, and it is confirmed that she's not pregnant. They couldn't actually confirm because of HIPAA laws. They can't give anyone's medical diagnosis out. But what we do know is on said day, 4 people were checked into the police department as pregnant because they have to monitor their pregnant inmates. And she checked in and it was still 4 inmates pregnant. Okay, she's not pregnant. So yes, that's right. Megan is arrested. She is arrested by the police department directly for false reporting. She reported that her child was with a father. She wasn't. She reported that the child was with a babysitter. She wasn't. She then reported that her mother told her the child was in Mendota. That didn't happen. She said she's pregnant. Like all of these things, I'm not sure which of her statements that she made to police are the actual statements that they are charging her for being wrong, because that information is sealed.
Based on her responses in your investigation, did you come to the conclusion that false statements were made by Ms. Boswell?
Yes, sir, several.
And as a result, she was charged with at least 1 count of false report by affidavit complaint in Bristol Sessions Court. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
As of now, the judge has ordered that a lot of these reports, searches, and everything are going to be sealed from the public while they continue the investigation. And that leads us up to the discovery of Evelyn Boswell. She was discovered in what is being described as an outbuilding. So this is a shed on the property of a Boswell family member. We have found, obviously through online, they have confirmed it. This is a large property. It is owned by Tommy Boswell Sr. I don't know who lived in that house. I don't know who was using the shed. I don't know what it was used for. I don't know how often it was used. We don't have a lot of that information. What I do know is that it is being reported that since then, Tommy Boswell did not want to speak to the media any longer. And he was reported to refer to the media as vultures. Do I find that concerning? Absolutely. You were very concerned about finding your granddaughter. Yet when the news is out there and they're at their hardest and they're hitting and they're getting answers, that's when you're annoyed. I don't understand that. There was also reports, okay? And we have to fish through this to figure out what's correct. So once Evelyn was found, the community came out in just insane show of support and covered a tree on the property with balloons, stuffed animals, posters, things of support for Evelyn. It was reported by the news that the family member who owned the property had requested that the memorial be moved off of their private property. That's how it was reported. So I, like everyone else, am like, oh my God, what does that mean? Why is Tommy not want a memorial for his granddaughter on his property? Like, I'm feeding into it too. Like, what does that mean? I am hearing now that that is not true. That the tree is actually on the next door neighbor's property, and that they actually were removing it for safety because there was heavy rains happening. There was like people were getting all over. It was about to be a downpour. So they moved it across the way under a carport at the church. So Evelyn's body is found and they are unable to identify her originally. Of course, we said now she has been identified. And Megan's bond was only $25,000 for the false reporting. Now, her bond has since been increased. Her lawyer argued that they increased the bond based on pending future charges of the disappearance or the death of her daughter. But the prosecution argued that no, the reason they were asking to request to increase her bond is because she's a flight risk. One of the things that Megan brought up during an interview is that her and her family are self-identified as gypsies. Very clear, I don't have a lot of understanding of the gypsy culture. I think I'm like the rest of America, and I have no idea if this is insensitive, but my understanding is the gypsy lifestyle is a group of people that don't believe in like really setting exact routes, and that they like to travel, and that they usually have a trade that they use to make money in different locations. I don't know how true that is, but I do believe that that is one of the things that led them to bring up the amount of places that Megan has lived and the amount of states that she has association with. I think it's like Virginia, Texas, Louisiana, and Tennessee. Like there's just a lot of different states that she's been in, goes to. Her mother goes to different states. So there's a lot of traveling in her family. So that was the reason they felt that it was adequate to increase her bond. In fact, just during the time that her child had been missing, she had been to all of these different places.
I've been trying to edit something, so it's not working. I'm just going to re-record something for you guys. So this is editing Melissa, fixing past Melissa. One of the things that I want to point out, I want to talk about bail. So Angela and William were arrested for the stolen car. They were bailed out on March 3rd and March 5th very quickly. It appears that the father, David Jones Sr. of Angela's dad, bailed them out because he went to the jail and picked up Angela and then took Angela back 2 days later to pick up William. The thing to note is that nobody bailed out Megan at all. Her bail was only $25,000, which means it has, a $2,500 pay to a bonds to bail her out. Nobody bailed her out. Not her father, who had money to put towards the reward of $20,000, but he didn't have $2,500. Her grandfather on her mother's side didn't have, or none of them want to support her. It kind of makes you wonder. I just wanted to talk about the bail situation because it's really kind of interesting. Her bail is up to now $150,000, and the fact that nobody is bailing her out is seriously telling about the situation.
So at this time, Evelyn has been found and no one's been charged. Like I've said that over and over. Megan knew her daughter was missing. Megan knows who of these people is responsible for what happened to her daughter if it's not directly her. And Megan knows who was helping her. So number one, Megan's guilty, okay? I don't think there's a lot of argument. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are bleeding hearts. I'm usually a bleeding heart, so I can say this. But that believe in people. And I do. I always feel bad when somebody came from a very rough childhood and then they make bad decisions later. But it doesn't excuse not reporting your child missing. It definitely doesn't excuse the death of your child. There is the conversation of how Evelyn passed away. Was this an accident? I have problems with that. If it's an accident, you call the police, you take your child to the hospital, you say what happened and you deal with it if it's an accident. When you don't report it, it immediately makes me feel that you feel guilt. Now, do you feel guilt because you're just one of those people who no matter what, you just feel like it was your fault? If you rolled over on your child, like it's your fault, so you just take full blame. So she blamed herself and didn't want to accept, but she did not cover it up by herself. Somebody helped her. I'm very curious to see what you guys think. So, poll number one, do we think that it was an accident? I'm curious. Do you guys think something accidentally happened? Or is this just like another Casey Anthony thing? Are we just going to say it was an accident and blame it on other people? Like, I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think it was an accident? And number two, biggest question I have. Who do you think was helping her? Who do you think was the person that is either covering it, is responsible, who was hiding it? Who was helping Megan? Who's responsible? Do you think it was her mother, Angela Boswell? Do you think it was her father, Tommy Sr.? Things to note. everyone online who knows them did say that it's very interesting that if Megan was in trouble, typically she would have went to her father. He was the one who had always taken care of her. He was the one that was financially stable, that could help her. He had the property. He had more access to help her, and typically that's who she went to. They did say it was very weird that if she was in trouble, she would have went to her mother, but that her mother also was more involved with a not so good lifestyle, so her mother might have been the perfect person to help her. Or do you think Hunter Woods, the boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, not really a boyfriend, just a hookup in December, but she was living with him, and he gave his car over? Okay? Do you think it was Hunter Woods? Or do you think it was all of them? I'm very curious, and I'm very excited. I just saw my boyfriend just pulled up. He just got home from work. So, and I'm going to end this video with like my own reminder to the world to be kind. Take your time. Do a little research. I'm so tired of people being just idiots. Like just flat out freaking idiots. They just go straight on to it, and they're just like, so-and-so's a murderer, like before the baby was even found. Like just insanity when literally know nothing about the case. They read one headline and suddenly they know everything. I'm curious. For my educated people who actually do awareness and actually look into cases, what do you think? So thank you guys again so much for being here with me. I appreciate you guys from the bottom of my heart. I hope you appreciate it. It seems like we're on a weekly schedule. I've already got next week's video planned out. Thank you guys again from the bottom of my heart. I say this at the end of every video. Hug your babies, hug your loves. Life is literally precious. Enjoy every minute of every day. You never know. I love you guys, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.